Hershey Girl 17, and today I am here with
Hershey Park enthusiast, and today we're going to be taking a look at two of the world's best B&M hypercoasters, Apollo's Chariot at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and Candemonium at my own Hershey Park.
Yes, and we're going to be doing rankings by category, and we're going to see which one is the ultimate winner.
Our first category is going to be first drop. And this one is a bit of an interesting one, but I'm going to give this one to Candemonium, mainly because Candy is a newer B&M hyper, so B&M just over time has just naturally been able to make drops better. Plus, Candemonium's drop is 210 feet, and Apollo's drop is, I believe, exactly 200 feet. The height of the ride's around 170, and the drop is about 200 feet, meaning that, this is just barely a hypercoaster classified by the drop. So naturally, being a shorter drop is not going to be quite as good. I mean, bigger drops aren't always necessarily better, but I think in the sense of Candy, it definitely is. And Candy's drop is much steeper than Apollo's. Apollo's drop does have that little pre-drop, which is kind of fun, and you do get some ejector, or maybe more flow ejector in the backseat, but it's nowhere near as sustained as Candy's flow ejector. Candemonium honestly has one of the strongest drops out there. I really, really enjoy this drop, and I definitely think Candy's going to win. Okay, next is going to be airtime. Both of these rides have really, really strong airtime, and we kind of debated on this one for a little bit, but we're going to end up giving this point to Apollo's Chariot. I think Candemonium does have very good airtime, but some of it is hindered a little bit by the trim brakes, and that's going to come in factor towards another category later in this video. But the trim brakes do take away a little bit of the airtime. Candy has a really, really great drop, a great 5-second floater hill at speed hill gives some good airtime, but the second Camelback hill and the one right before the Kisses Fountain, it's not, they don't hit quite as hard just due to the trim brakes, and honestly, I barely even get airtime on those hills personally. And Apollo, it has, I believe, some trim, but less for sure, and doesn't really do as much in terms of trimmage. That's not really a word, but I'm definitely going to give this category, or we're definitely going to give this category to Apollo's Chariot, just for the reason that some of Candy's airtime is a little bit hindered. All right, next up is going to be pacing, and this is what I was referring to with the trim brakes kind of playing a factor into part of this. Pacing is definitely going to go to Apollo's Chariot. I love Candemonium to death. It is a great coaster, and a lot of people, if you're riding Candy for your first time, you might not really notice the trims if you're not as much of a coaster enthusiast, which is completely okay. But if you're kind of along those lines, you probably won't really notice them as much. But for an enthusiast who craves floater and ejector airtime myself, the trims do really kind of hinder him for me personally, and it kind of causes the coaster to fall off speed a little bit in parts of the ride, whereas Apollo, it is the first B&M hyper, so naturally it's not going to absolutely fly through the layout, but it's a little bit more sustained and less, trimified. That's not English, but okay, we're going to roll with it. All right, and then the last category that I'm going to do personally is going to be comfort. Both of these rides are extremely comfortable. They're B&M hypers, which have B&M clamshells, some of the most comfy restraints really out there. They're ratchets, so they don't really come down too hard. They're just really nice. They give a lot of room. They're really fun. They're just honestly the perfect coaster restraints. I don't know anybody that has a problem with B&M clamshells, but Candy does have seatbelts, and I know that's not a huge deal. It's not really to me at all. They are retractable seatbelts, so you don't really feel them a majority of the ride. But just because Apollo doesn't have those and it feels a little bit more open and relaxed, I am going to give the point to Apollo for this category. But it is by a very slim margin. The seatbelt doesn't really do enough at all to really turn the tide of this too much. But I do have to give this to Apollo just because, it is a little bit less restrictive and you just feel very open.
Thank you so much, Hershey Park enthusiasts. So now we're going to move on to our next category, which is laterals. And personally, I think the laterals are definitely basically better on Candy. Not even better. Apollo's Chariot barely has any laterals. They have that, curly Q thing. I don't know what to call it. But, yeah, Candy has a lot of helixes, and that hammerhead turn just hits really hard. I love it. It's really good. Now, maybe it's not the best coaster element in the world, but I still really love it. So we're going to move on to our next category, which is theming and appearance. Honestly, I have to give the point to Candy. I mean, I love how Apollo's Chariot has, those little, things at the top that say running for 20 years and, the stats. But Candy just has more theming, if you know what I mean. In the station and the lights and the queue line. And again, the station has all those Candy stuff. Candemonium, duh. And also, where Candy sits is very not pleasant. You could say it's like a little bit more like construction-y, but Apollo would have gotten the point if it had more theming, but Candy just gets the point because of the theming. I mean, Apollo's in a very nice location. I mean, like, when you're at the top of the lift hill, you can see water, which is really cool. But I'm giving the point to Candy. The next one, we have intensity. And this one, it's a really hard one because, like, everything has intensity. I mean, it's a roller coaster. So many people are scared of it. Like, half of my friends tell me, like, I could never do that. How do you do it? And, like, I put my hands up on roller coasters. Like, you know, I'm a coaster enthusiast. So, it's kind of like, yeah. But, I had to give this one to Candy because Candy has, again, the hammerhead turn and the helixes. And Apollo really doesn't. Now, I love, it's more flow ejector airtime that you get on that first drop of Apollo's Chariot, which I love. But that's really it for intensity on Apollo's Chariot. You do get, like, on Candy, you get flow ejector airtime in the back seat, as Hershey Park Enthusiast loves to say, and, yeah. And our next category is stats. Now, this is going to be a 3-point category because you just can't decide the stats of this roller coaster. These two roller coasters. So, Candy gets 2 points because Candy, honestly, it's definitely better. I don't know what to say about that. Like, Candy gets 2 points because it's in a spot that's, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's, like, very, like, Hershey Park happy, you could say, and it's just a very good ride, and overall, it's, like, really smooth, and it's not as, like, I don't know, it's not, like, Apollo Chariot's shaky or rickety or anything, but it's just newer. And it has really cute theming, and I love how it has the 4 cars themed to the candy. I think it's Twizzlers, Kisses, Reese's, and a Hershey bar. So that's pretty cool. And Apollo gets 1 point because it's honestly, it definitely gives you airtime, and it's definitely something that I suggest riding. So, yeah. I don't even know where I was going with that. Help me. But, yeah. So, the next, next category is overall ride experience. I had to give it to Apollo because, again, you can see the water from the top of the lift hill, and it's so pretty. I mean, it just makes you feel calm, and to see that roller coaster, like, right next to it, it makes it a little bit intimidating, so, like, that's pretty cool. And, like, you know, 10 pesos next to it, if you know what I mean, if you've been to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, because I've been to Busch Gardens Williamsburg a million times, because I am a whole history lover, so I've been to Williamsburg a lot, and since I'm a roller coaster lover, I've been to Busch Gardens Williamsburg a lot, so, yeah. So, we have that, and it's just that the overall ride experience of Apollo, like, you get more scenery, and it also, in my opinion, this is just an opinion, but it gives me, like, a very nice, happy feel to it. And I'm not saying that Candy's overall ride experience is bad. I'm just saying that there's a lot more airtime and less trim brakes on Apollo's Chariot. So, our ultimate winner of the day is Candemonium. Now, originally it was supposed to be Apollo, but I forgot to count the stats points. So, I'm sorry, guys. Don't hate on me, but Candy is our ultimate winner.
And I want to give a huge shout out to Hershey Girl 17 for having me on. I really appreciate it. We had a lot of fun doing this collab, so make sure to subscribe to her if you have not already. She is awesome.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and we really hope you enjoyed this video.
Make sure to subscribe to Hershey Girl 17 and Hershey Park Enthusiast, and make sure to stay tuned for even more awesome content coming in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's coaster battle.
Bye!